If you don't have a go-to classic apple pie that actually tastes like grandma's, we're gonna fix that right now. Perfectly flavored filling and an insanely flaky all butter crust, you need to try this pie. My grandma believed it was an absolute travesty to not have a baked apple pie ready for neighbors to drop by for coffee. This is the pie that we always have at Thanksgiving and year-round because it's that good. Let's make it together. Instead of going over all of the ingredients, I just want to talk to you about anything noteworthy, and then you can screenshot the ingredients if you'd like. For the crust, I always use white wine vinegar. This is my secret ingredient for my pie crust. The acid in the vinegar weakens some of the gluten strands just enough so that the crust stays tender and doesn't shrink when it bakes. You'll smell it in the raw dough, but I promise once that pie hits the oven, the vinegar completely bakes off. I'm using Cosmic Crisp apples, which tend to have a little bit of crunch, so you'll likely need to bake them a little bit longer. Some other varieties of apple that are slightly tart and have a firm texture, making them great for baking, are Granny Smith, Honey Crisp, Pink Lady, or Envy. I've been on the search for Braeburn apples, which were always my go-to, but several years ago I noticed that they're not really available, so I don't know if you guys are seeing them in the store, but I cannot seem to locate a Braeburn to save my life. For the thickener in the filling, you can use either all-purpose flour, cornstarch, or tapioca pearls. Before we start mixing our dough, you can place a baking sheet or a sheet of foil on the lower rack of your oven while it preheats to 400 degrees. Let's jump straight into the crust. And yes, we are making this from scratch because it is shockingly easy. Once you try this crust, you'll never go back to store-bought. Cube up 1 cup of cold salted butter and place it in the refrigerator while you mix the dry ingredients. I use this exact dough for most of my pies, and I have a hack that I'll link on the screen to make 5 single crusts at once, so I always have pie dough ready in the freezer. To a medium bowl, add 2.5 cups or 300 grams of unbleached all-purpose flour, 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and whisk this together. Add your cold cubed butter and break up any clumps, making sure that they're coated in flour. To break the chunks up even more, you can use a pastry cutter or your hands. I definitely prefer using my hands because that way I can feel exactly what's happening with the dough. Once the chunks of butter are no larger than pea size, take a small bowl and add a 1/4 cup of ice water and 2 teaspoons of white wine vinegar. Drizzle this over your mixture and lightly mix it together to form your dough. I prefer my pie dough to be a little bit on the wet side, and you can always add a tiny bit more flour when you're rolling it out. Keep adding iced water about 1/2 tablespoon at a time until your dough holds together when you squeeze it. After it's all mixed, divide the dough in half and then wrap it in plastic wrap. After you wrap the 2 discs, let them rest on the counter for at least 30 minutes or up to 2 hours. This resting time does 2 things. It lets the flour fully hydrate so you don't need extra flour when you're rolling, and it relaxes the gluten so the crust rolls out like a dream and doesn't spring back. I only refrigerate if I'm making the dough a day before. Otherwise, room temperature is my preference because cold dough cracks like crazy when you try to roll it. While our dough rests, let's switch to making the apple pie filling. Just like my apple pie bars, I'm using my crank peeler, which is a huge time saver. For this pie, you'll need between 5 or 6 large apples that yield you 900 to 1,000 grams or 10 cups. You'll want to aim for a 1/4 inch thick slices, and guys, this is honestly a little bit of a challenge for me. Just know that if you slice a little bit on the thicker side, you'll easily add another 15 to 20 minutes of bake time so that your pie is not soupy. Squeeze a 1/2 lemon over the top of the apples and stir them to coat. The lemon gives the filling a little flavor lift and it helps to stop them from browning. To a small bowl, add 3/4 cup of granulated sugar, 2 tablespoons of flour, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, a 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, 1/8 teaspoon of allspice, and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Mix this together and pour it over your apples. Stir them so that they're all covered, and then set that aside while we roll out our crust. If you've seen my other videos, you guys know I am obsessed with my pastry board and cloth. I use this so often for cookies, lefse, pastry. It really is a game changer with rolling dough. I use way less flour when rolling. I also use a rolling pin sock most of the time, but You can tell from the video, I really need to replace mine because the ends are stretched and I get some little indents. These are my go-to tools for rolling dough, but you can also lightly flour your work surface to roll. Roll your dough out to about 14 inches and then fold it over and transfer it to a 9-inch pie pan. As you place the crust in the pan, just be mindful that you don't stretch the dough. You want to nudge the pastry into the pan and lift the sides as you form it into the pan. If there are any edges that have less dough, you can just pull excess pastry from the edge and press it into the skimpier spots. Pour your apples into the pan and then make sure that you get all those juices too. You want to mound those apples up and try to fill in any gaps. Don't be afraid if you pile them really high in the center, you're going to lose about 30 to 40% of the volume as they cook down. So a domed pie now turns into a perfectly full pie later. Dot 2 tablespoons worth of cubed butter over the top. And now it's time to roll that top crust. You can make a lattice top, a cutout top, or just a plain pie top with vents. This year, I was chasing after a beautiful cutout decorative pie for Thanksgiving, and I had some serious issues. Since I recorded it, I decided I would share with you one of my failed attempts. The reviews on this cutter are so positive, and I just feel like I'm missing something here. This recording is actually my second attempt at this top. I salvaged the first cutout top I attempted, but of course I didn't record it. It was such a challenge to cut out though, and I had to piece together some of the parts. If any of you guys have used this type of cutter, did you try it with a homemade crust or a store-bought? Because I'm thinking that it didn't work for me because mine is homemade and it is much more tender. I wondered if my issue was my pastry board, so I tried it directly on my flour tabletop and it still doesn't cut. So let me know, guys. I would love to have a pretty decorative pie top. But let's get back to our pie. Take that rolled dough and place it over the top of the apples. Perform any surgery that you need to get the edges of your crust even, and then tuck the top over the bottom crust. Pinch it together to seal. And once that's all done, you can apply a simple crimp edge. I always press down on my crimp so that the dough is less likely to fall into the pie. With a pastry brush, apply an egg wash of 1 egg and 1 teaspoon of water whisked together. Sprinkle with sugar if you'd like, and then if you have a full top crust like I do here, cut slits to help the steam vent while it's baking. Here's a trick I wish I had years ago. Instead of fighting with pie rings and strips of foil, you protect your crust from the start. Of course, I don't have a recording of the shield on this specific pie. I'm going to demo the trick with my Dutch apple pie. To make the foil shield, wrap your pie in 2 sheets of tin foil. Then you cut slits from the center out like a pizza and fold those triangles back over the edge, and then you're ready for baking. It works so beautifully. And if you're worried about misshaping that soft crust edge, you can pop your pie into the freezer for about 10 minutes and then put the foil shield on. Bake your pie at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for 20 minutes, and then you'll reduce the temperature to 375 degrees and bake for 50 minutes to an hour more. Like I said earlier, there can be a wide range of time needed based on your apples and how thick they're sliced. For this pie, the shield was added after 30 minutes of baking versus this one that I had the shield on from the start, and I used the exact same crust recipe. And there you have it, a pie that will make your grandma proud. Warm it up for 20 seconds, add whipped cream, ice cream, or salted caramel. This is a timeless dessert, and it's not just for Thanksgiving, but your guests will thank you if you make it. The full printable recipe is in the description along with the tools I used and a link to make 5 crusts at once so you always have dough in the freezer. If you have a better experience with that decorative cutout or you make this pie, I would love to hear from you in the comments. Thanks for watching and happy baking.